Housing is elemental, it's essential. Everybody needs it. We have a lot of space in Detroit, and yet we are constantly dealing with lots of housing issues. And so UCHC has been on the forefront of that for many decades in terms of representing people who are at risk of losing their housing. And they're flexible, whether it's tenant organizing or fighting for affordable housing credits or defending against foreclosures. So I believe it's since 2003 that UCHC has done work on tax foreclosures. It's anywhere from just counseling and basic information to helping people who live in homes that are in foreclosure in the auction to purchase the home they already live in. And so we've helped about 3,000 people purchase their homes and become homeowners, mostly through the tax foreclosure auction over the years. We see it as taking a negative thing, foreclosure can be harmful to a neighborhood, turning it into a positive. And so the ACLU has been a couple of years running in their lawsuit against the city of Detroit, and they saw our program as an outlet, as an opportunity to bypass the auction and to take advantage of something that was already in place to help settle the lawsuit. The city was willing as well. This is an opportunity we have, the partners are in place, and we were able to help 80 families last year to buy their homes before they went up for auction. And just like every year, we also try to help people whose homes were in the auction. And in many cases, we failed because the bidding is competitive. There is no priority in the auction for someone who lives in the home. So it's just the highest bidder wins, period. So we experienced a lot of losses, and that's part of why we've been so hopeful about this right of refusal process to actually prioritize the resident and create home ownership. Last year it was only non-owners who could be in our right of refusal program. This year it also includes low-income homeowners, and those low-income homeowners are benefiting from the settlement because they're going to be able to get their house back for $1,000. So I would say that the ACLU kind of used the existing program and the existing mechanisms that were in place with the city and UCHC and others to find a resolution. The Homeowner Property Tax Assistance Program, also known as the Poverty Exemption, and that was the basis for the ACLU lawsuit. They claimed that people were getting foreclosed upon for taxes that they should not have had to pay if they had been able to take advantage of the poverty exemption, which is made available under state law. And so rather than retroactively granting exemptions or taking away taxes that have already been levied, for people who are in foreclosure, they're going to be able to get their houses back in this way. We also recommend the poverty exemption for people who are low-income homeowners. And so we'll continue to do that. We're also going to be seeing improvements in the poverty tax exemption application to make it easier for people to fill out, less of a burden for organizations like ours. That was also part of the settlement, so we're looking forward to that. We need more organizations who can help people to fill these out. We fill out a lot here in our office, and we're happy to do it. It's something that I call radical paperwork. These little papers can save someone's home. It's really powerful. But there needs to be more organizations out there that do it, and we've really seen an improvement in that regard over the past year. Other people getting trained on it, understanding it, telling homeowners about it. So I think that the conversation has been started, and we just need to back it up with partners who can actually help people to get access to it, and we're seeing that happen. Not a single law has changed to make this program possible. What has changed is the willingness and the capacity of all the partners. So we've had about 3 years now a tax foreclosure roundtable group convened by the mayor's office, and Vicky Kovari heads that up. And that has been a great opportunity for us to continue to hash out these issues and know each other on a first name basis and have candid conversations about where people are falling through the cracks. And I think that has a lot to do with how we were able to get to the place we're in now, where we're come to the city and say, these are the properties we want to purchase. They trust us to do that. They go to the county treasurer's office is willing to participate. They do certain things that they don't have to do, like extending deadlines, So that all requires us to trust and work together, and it's really cool to see what's possible when we do.
The mayor's vision for the Department of Neighborhoods was that their number one charge would be to fight blight, because that really was impacting the quality of life in the neighborhoods. Vacant houses meant crime, it meant vandalism of those properties. When they're vacant, they get stripped, they get destroyed. If you live next to abandoned property, your property values go down, the whole neighborhood's property values go down. It creates an unsafe and unhealthy environment. And so we decided that to tackle blight would be a number one priority, to try to restore the quality of life in Detroit's neighborhoods and to help people stay in their homes. We organized literally thousands of cleanups our first couple of years in 2014 and 15. The Blight Task Force report that came out in 2014 really traced the abandonment of the houses to foreclosures. In 2014, we had 62,000 properties posted with foreclosure notices in the city of Detroit. And in 2015, over 6,000 owner-occupied houses were in the Wayne County tax auction. So we realized that we had to do something a lot more robust around preventing property tax foreclosures. So in December 2014, I, along with others, convened a group called the Property Tax Foreclosure Prevention Work Group. And it had the mayor's office, it had the city treasurer, it had a bunch of nonprofits, and it had a number of for-profits like Quicken Loans that had sponsored the Blight Task Force report. It had Loveland Technologies that had done the mapping of all the parcels. We had the Wayne County Treasurer as a key partner. So one of the things we realized is that none of those folks doing all these efforts were talking to each other. So the mayor's office became the primary convener of that group to help us talk to each other and to help us build some strategies around outreach and education to really create meaningful interventions to save people's homes. So the treasurer and the mayor also became some of the chief spokespersons for educating the public about payment plans, about deadlines for how they could go in and pay their taxes or get on payment plans. The mayor's office had volunteers that went out, staff went out. The treasurer hired folks to go door to door and had interns do phone calls. Other nonprofits like the United Community Housing Coalition and others created a lot of door-to-door efforts, mailings. We track how many doors have been knocked on, we track how many mailings have been sent out, and we also specifically track owner-occupied foreclosures. How many houses do we still have facing the tax auction? So early on in our task force, we were urged to try to create a ramped up effort around poverty tax exemptions. And at first, because the city had just exited from bankruptcy, I think there was a concern about how it would impact the city's revenues. And when it was realized that the amount of revenue that might be lost was about equal to the revenue the city was using to demolish houses that were empty or having to maintain them, board them up, we realized that it would be much better if we kept people in those homes. And if it meant foregoing a number of years of tax revenue, it was more worth it to be able to keep those neighborhoods stable, to keep people in their homes, because ultimately we want people to stay in the city of Detroit. Last year, we started an effort to really promote poverty tax exemptions, and Quicken Loans really took this on, saying to community groups all over the city, we would like to pay you guys a stipend to go door to door promoting poverty tax exemptions to those folks that are delinquent in their taxes. Because the thought was, if we can intervene earlier with people who are eligible for poverty tax exemption, then we can save their home, pure and simple. So they had a target of 64,000 people in the city of Detroit who were delinquent. They went door to door to almost 60,000 of them, talking to people. So it was more than poverty tax exemptions. It was educating people about payment plans, about deferred payment plans, the whole range of programs that the Treasurer's Office had and that the city had to help people stay in their homes. The outreach and the Board of Review have done to educate people about poverty tax exemptions, the mailings that the city assessor did to everyone in delinquency. So we became much more aggressive about informing people. We were able to reduce owner-occupied foreclosures. This year, we're looking at a little over 400 owner-occupied foreclosures. So that's about a 93% decrease in owner-occupied foreclosures going into the tax auction between what it was in 2015 and what we projected to be in 2018. No city was faced with the extent, the scale of foreclosures as the city of Detroit and Wayne County were faced with. I do not believe we would have achieved a 90% reduction in owner-occupied foreclosures in the last 3 years if we had not started talking to each other and started to figure out together, across the range of public and private organizations, how we could leverage each other's resources to really tackle this problem in a much more aggressive way. Without meeting every week, every month, countless other subcommittee meetings, I think all of those discussions and coordinations were the reason we made this dent in this problem that in an urban city is unprecedented.